Okay, so in 1998, a guy at Princeton built a machine that he claims can detect when something bad is about to happen to the entire planet. Not a prediction, a reaction. Like the Earth itself flinches, and the data kind of backs him up. Let's get into it. So this thing is called the Global Consciousness Project. But everyone just calls them Princeton Eggs. Cute name, right? Sounds like breakfast. It's actually a network of little boxes, random number generators, sitting in like 60 to 70 locations around the world. Garages, offices, random people's houses. Each one is just spitting out random ones and zeros every second, forever, and sending that data back to a server in Princeton. That's it. That's the whole setup. Boring, right? Here's where it gets weird. The guy behind this, Roger Nelson, a psychologist at Princeton, had this theory. What if, during moments when huge numbers of people are feeling the same emotion at the same time, it leaves a fingerprint, like a measurable disturbance in pure randomness? Think about it this way. Supporters and skeptics have described the goal as basically trying to detect a great disturbance in the force. Yeah, Star Wars. That's literally the comparison people use. So the hypothesis is when something massive happens, a terrorist attack, a tsunami, a royal funeral, and millions of people's attention snap to it at the same moment, do these random number machines sitting in random garages suddenly stop being random? And according to the project, sometimes, yes. Now before you close the tab, I know how this sounds. I know ancient mystical earth fillings machine is not exactly nature journal material. But stick with me, because the actual methodology here is more rigorous than you'd expect, and the story of how this thing got built is honestly bonkers. So here's the process, step by step. And this part matters because it's the difference between real experiment and guy making stuff up. Step one. Step one. Before anything happens, researchers register a prediction. They pick an event, define exactly when it starts and ends, and decide in advance what the math formula will be, like a locked-in bet. Step 2. After the event, they pull the data from all those eggs around the world and run the pre-registered formula. This spits out something called a z-score. Basically, how far off from normal randomness was this? Step 3. They combine that z-score with all the previous events, building up one giant cumulative result over years. The whole thing is designed essentially as a replication experiment, running the same basic test over and over on different world events to see if the pattern holds up. And here's the curiosity loop for you. By 2008 or so, this project had run through 500 of these formal events. 500. So, did the needle move? We'll get there. Quick tangent. So why did they choose the term eggs for the project? Because it sounds like someone's joke that just stuck. So the term actually comes from electrocardiogram, a mashup of electroencephalogram, which is the brainwave scan thing, and Gaia, the personification of Earth. So basically, a brainwave scan for the planet. The whole idea started at a lab at Princeton run by a guy named Roger, hence Princeton Egg. And honestly, the visual is kind of perfect. Picture Earth lying on the table at the doctor's office, little electrodes stuck all over it, and somewhere in Princeton there's a monitor going beep, 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 and one day it just goes beep. Okay, anyway, back to the science. So what actually happened with those 500 events? The project's own analysis claims there is a statistical significant deviation. Across the full data set, they combined results the combined results land outside what you'd expect from pure chance. The famous example people bring up is September 11, 2001. Supporters point to that day as one of the strongest signals in the entire dataset. But, and this is the big but, a 2017 review by researcher Peter Bankel, what was that, Bansel, looked back at the data and concluded it does not actually support the global consciousness idea. So even within the project's own camp, there's disagreement about what the data is actually worth showing. And here's the thing that makes this whole story even weirder. This isn't even the first time Princeton built something like this. There's a whole backstory involving a previous lab, and honestly, it's the part that made me go, wait, this was a real university program? So before the GCP, there was a Princeton program called PAIR, the Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Lab. And the GCP basically grew out of that. In fact, the GCP was described as using exactly the same procedure as PAIR's earlier studies, just scaled up to a global level instead of one lab room. So picture this. For decades, Princeton, Ivy League, actual real university, had researchers running random number generator experiments trying to detect whether human minds and emotions could influence machines, not in a sci-fi movie, in a real engineering building, with funding, with grad students. That's the part that gets me. This isn't some guy in a basement with tinfoil. This is institutional, peer-reviewed, adjacent, decades-long research that mainstream science still largely treats as fringe. And okay, side note. Eggs and Princeton apparently have a whole thing going on because, completely unrelated, Princeton researchers also did a real study where they took regular grocery store egg whites, freeze dried them, baked them at 900 degrees Celsius with no oxygen, and turned them into a material that removes almost 100% of microplastics from water. So just to recap, Princeton has completely separately one, a global network of mystery boxes called eggs that may detect planetary emotions, and two, actual eggs that filter plastic out of your drinking water. I don't make the rules, I just report them. So where does this leave us? The Global Consciousness Project is real. It's been running for over 25 years. It has actual data, actual methodology, actual published results, and depending on who you ask, it's either tantalizing evidence that human consciousness leaves a physical trace on the world, or it's a textbook case of how statistics can be massaged to find patterns in noise if you really want to. And the wild part is, nobody actually shut it down. The eggs are still out there, right now, recording, waiting for the next moment when the whole world feels the same thing at once. And honestly, that's the part that stuck with me. Somewhere in the world right now, there's a little box in someone's spare room, quietly generating random numbers, just in case. If you want me to go deep on the Paralab next, the one where they tried to bend dice rolls with their minds, let me know in the comments, because that story is even crazier than this one. Anyway, that's Princeton Eggs. See you in the next one.